Story 1. A dead tree branch caught in the canopy. They call them widowmakers. Story 2. Smoke inhalation in a house fire can kill you in as little as 2 minutes. It is extremely important that you stay as low as possible when evacuating your home to minimize your exposure. Many people know that smoke is dangerous, but they do not realize you can die from inhaling it so quickly. Story 3. It may not kill you immediately, but I learned that people stranded in snowstorms on the highway may not know they must keep the tailpipe clear of snow, or exhaust can back up into the car and cause carbon monoxide poisoning. I learned this from a novel and had no idea. Now every few years I read about a death caused by it. Story 4. Pulmonary embolism. My girlfriend came to visit after work and said she was not feeling well. I made her soup, gave her cold medicine, watched her favorite show with her, and sent her home to rest. I got a call from one of our friends the next morning saying she had died during the night. My mother, a registered nurse, told me pulmonary embolisms are very difficult to spot and can be fatal very quickly. Years later, I am still occasionally frustrated with myself. She was dying and I made her soup. Hug the people you love. Edit. Thank you all for your kind words. I no longer actively beat myself up about it. When I think of her, I almost always remember happy moments. Her loudly singing off key in the passenger seat and spilling on her favorite shirt. The guilt, regret, and grief are only occasional and brief these days. Thank you for sharing your stories. I hope this has provided some healing for all of us. Story 5. Listen carefully. If you see someone enter a confined, poorly ventilated space and they do not come out, do not go in after them. A buildup of toxic chemicals or gases can render you unconscious long before you can help. I have heard multiple stories where 4 or 5 people died because they kept following each other into septic pits and similar places. Toxic gas buildup can incapacitate you very quickly. Story 6. Do not mix different cleaning products, such as those for bathrooms, floors, and other surfaces. Some of these contain very aggressive chemicals and can react with one another. Bleach, in particular, should never be mixed with other cleaners. Chlorine gas can be produced more easily than you may think. If you do not realize what you have done, the results can be fatal. A clean bathroom will not help you then. Story 7. Rotating machinery will grab any loose article of clothing, pull you in, and turn you into a smoothie. Story 8. Carbon monoxide is a serious hazard because you cannot see or smell it. A faulty furnace or water heater can fill your home while you sleep, and you may not wake up. It is important to have a working carbon monoxide detector. Story 9. Yes, if you are a worrier, just go ahead and skip this thread. Story 10. About 3 months ago, I developed a bacterial infection in my foot that entered my bloodstream and infected my heart. I died in the operating room and had to be resuscitated before a 10-hour surgery to replace 3 heart valves and repair a large hole in my heart. Spent 3 weeks in the intensive care unit and 2 weeks in the cardiology ward afterward. Do not let small infections become serious. I had no idea this was happening, but on the 3rd day I could not get out of bed because I was so tired, and we called emergency services. Story 11. Diving headfirst can be fatal if you misjudge the water depth or cause permanent, full-body paralysis. Story 12. Cone snails. Many people see a pretty seashell, pick it up, feel a tiny pinch they do not think much of, and then die. There is no antidote. The best anyone can do is get the person out of the water, because the toxin causes paralysis and many deaths are from drowning, and keep them breathing long enough for the body to metabolize the toxin. If you survive, the experience is extremely painful, and you may suffer chronic pain and long-term changes afterward. I understand that saying many may seem exaggerated given how rare these events are, but because the risk can be sudden and unexpected, even a few incidents feel significant. People walk on beaches and pick up shells every day without realizing it could be dangerous. If someone objects to the wording, consider going outside, getting some fresh air, and exploring a beach yourself. Story 13. The blue-ringed octopus is one of the most venomous animals alive and can kill a person within 15 minutes. Story 14. Although not immediate, many people do not realize that a tooth infection can be fatal if it is allowed to spread unchecked. Story 15. A tiny tear in your aorta can rupture with no warning. Story 16. Farm animals such as horses and cows may look harmless and cuddly, but if they decide you are not allowed in their space, they can become deadly in a heartbeat. Their massive body weight is an effective defense. Cows may trample, and the flexibility of a horse's legs can cause serious injury. There are many foolish ways to die from seemingly cute farm animals. Story 17. Do not take your eyes off the road, especially if you are on the highway. Story 18. Power lines are not the same as your outlets or extension cords. Story 19. Sleeping with your phone connected to a charger under your pillow is dangerous. A friend was sent to the emergency room after their phone overheated and the battery exploded under their face. Shrapnel from the battery entered the left side of the brain and could have severed veins. Surgeons had to remove shrapnel from the brain, ear, and neck. Doctors said one piece was less than 1/4 of an inch from the jugular, so they were literally close to death. Best practice is to place your phone and charger away from you, preferably on a nightstand or table, and not in your bed. Edit. I have read a lot of comments about this and want to add a general warning. Mixing electrical devices with water is dangerous. Never use electrical devices near water. This is not limited to a phone charger near a bathtub. It applies to hair dryers, toasters, and other appliances. Water and electricity do not mix, and you can receive a fatal electric shock. Story 20. High humidity combined with high heat, known as the wet bulb effect, stops the body's natural ability to cool itself. At extreme levels, it can kill within hours or even minutes. The Cave of Crystals in Nica, Chihuahua, Mexico is one such place where these conditions exist. The environment is around 58 degrees Celsius, 136 degrees Fahrenheit, with humidity of about 90 to 99%. Without specialized cooling equipment and suits, a person would die within a few minutes because they would effectively drown in their own lungs. Story 21. Falling in any way and hitting your head on a hard floor can cause serious injury. Many people would be surprised by how fragile the human head is. Story 22. Antifreeze is poisonous if ingested, and in large amounts can be absorbed through the skin and be fatal if not washed off promptly. A friend lost his son 2 years ago. He was repairing a truck when the radiator hose burst and antifreeze covered him. The workplace had no facilities to wash up, so he wiped off as much as he could and continued working. About 12 hours later, he became ill, and 48 hours after exposure, he died. He was 42 and otherwise healthy. His family is devastated. Please be careful. Story 23. The ocean. A friend of a friend died in 2 feet of surf when he turned his back on the waves. A bigger wave came out, flipped him, and slammed his head into the packed sand. Never turn your back on the ocean. Story 24. Poppers, also known as alkyl nitrates, are used by many people without apparent harm. However, there is a condition called sudden sniffing death syndrome, which can occur when inhalants cause a rapid, severe increase in heart rate that immediately affects the cardiovascular system, leading to heart failure and death. Sudden sniffing death syndrome can occur the first time inhalants are used. In other words, it is not worth the risk. Story 25. Mixing benzodiazepines such as alprazolam, commonly known as Xanax, with alcohol can cause respiratory depression and may cause breathing to stop within a short time. Story 26. I think people know you can get hurt, but a simple fall can kill you if your head hits something hard, even if you don't fall from very high up. Story 27. Maintain situational awareness. When things start to go sideways, slow down and think. Do not turn one victim into 2 or more. Take your time and act with purpose and forethought. There will be more than enough panic without you adding to it. Story 28. It won't kill you immediately, but one of my greatest fears is getting prion. You're doomed. There is no cure and no hope. Your brain is gradually destroyed as you lose yourself until death. Edit. Comments taught me 2 things. First, prion may be more common and better known than I thought. Second, they are more terrifying than I realized. Story 29. Wild animals. People need to stop thinking the world is a petting zoo. Dude, that's a fucking moose. Story 30. Aneurysms. Often people do not know they have one. They usually have no signs or symptoms, and if they rupture, a person can die within minutes. Story 31. Passengers putting their feet on the dashboard while driving at high speeds have turned people into pretzels more times than I care to think about. Seeing people asleep on the freeway like that makes me very anxious. Story 32. Falling asleep at the wheel is dangerous. I once fell asleep for 2 seconds, and a friend lost 2 friends because of it. Driving while tired is as dangerous as driving while drunk. Story 33. Cars. Most people know this on some level, but everyone acts as though they are safe. Whether you are inside one or on the sidewalk near one, interacting with cars is by far the most dangerous thing the average person does on a daily basis. Story 34. Tylenol, also known as acetaminophen overdose. People assume it is harmless, but taking too much destroys the liver and can cause death within days. After a certain point, there may be no effective antidote. Story 35. The reason medical teams advise you not to eat before anesthesia is not so much the danger of inhaling or choking on food that comes back up. It is the danger of stomach acid entering the lungs. Even small amounts can cause catastrophic, irreparable lung damage. Story 36. A garage spring will turn you into a bloody, unrecognizable mess. Call a professional to fix it. Story 37. Many people think blanks are harmless because there is no bullet. When I teach gun safety, I fire a blank at a piece of sheet steel left over from the barn to demonstrate that guns are not toys. The gases and wadding from a .38 caliber blank can tear through a metal coffee can. Several actors have been killed playing around with blanks. Story 38. Someone mentioned power lines, but they missed an important point. You do not have to touch high voltage lines for them to kill you. If you get close enough on very high voltage lines, this could be as far as a meter. The electricity will arc across the air gap and electrocute you. Stay far away. Story 39. Entering a closed-off confined space with trapped moisture can allow bacteria to grow and reduce oxygen levels, so that a single attempt to breathe can cause you to collapse and die from lack of oxygen. Story 40. Come to think of it, I recall reading about a family that died because potatoes released gases in their root cellar. It turned the air toxic. One person collapsed and never regained consciousness, and then the whole family collapsed one after another except for the youngest child, who went for help. Story 41. Commotio cordis is a single impact to the chest at just the right moment that can trigger a fatal arrhythmia almost instantly. Poorly ventilated rooms with a gas leak can also silently kill while you sleep, as happened to the son of a family friend and his girlfriend. Such hazards can go unnoticed until it is too late. Story 42. I never knew alcohol withdrawal was a real condition until a couple of years ago. In the only case I know of, it occurred fairly suddenly. Story 43. A tire that comes loose on the freeway can be deadly. I knew a man whose wife was killed when a tire bounced through the front windshield. When I met him, he was still in shock and grief, and the death seemed meaningless to him. Story 44. A cracked toilet falling under the weight of your body as you sit. Edited to add not safe for work information. Toilet-related deaths. Medical journal with images. Story 45. It doesn't kill you immediately, but if you don't get treated quickly, your doom is sealed for a miserable, deadly week. Rabies. If you don't receive the vaccine within 24 hours of exposure and symptoms appear, rabies has an almost 100% mortality rate and causes a miserable, hallucinatory death. Story 46. Stacked objects falling on you can be dangerous. Extremely heavy items can kill you, but a pile of objects does not have to be particularly heavy to crush or suffocate you if you are unable to escape. Story 47. Helium balloons. Do not play. Displacing the oxygen in your lungs with another gas can cause hypoxia and make you forget to breathe because you will not feel air hunger even though your lungs are full. Loss of consciousness can occur in less than 10 seconds. Brain damage and death can follow. It may seem peaceful, though. Story 48. Most people think a fever of 101 to 102 degrees Fahrenheit can be reduced with acetaminophen, a cool compress, and sleep. One year I had the flu with a fever that alternated between sweating and chills. I took acetaminophen and lay down. An hour or two later I woke up sweating heavily and my skin felt like it was burning. I took my temperature. 105.8 degrees Fahrenheit. I somehow drove to the emergency room. The doctor was incredulous that I had managed to get there and said my organs were literally cooking. It was shocking how quickly the fever spiked and how little I felt. I was ill but not incapacitated. I almost went back to sleep. I am glad I did not. Story 49. I once heard a story about a man who was killed when his garage door spring broke. Now I look at them with apprehension whenever I am near a garage. Garage door spring accidents are among the most common and dangerous. These springs are under immense tension, and any attempt at do-it-yourself maintenance or repair can cause serious harm. Both torsion springs and extension springs can snap suddenly and injure anyone nearby. Story 50. Ethanol flames burn blue at the edge of the visible spectrum or can be entirely invisible. Story 51. A blood clot. People don't realize how vital it is to move around and stretch every few hours. Sitting or standing in the same position all day allows blood and water to pool in areas like the lower legs. You do not have to be old or overweight. Anyone can get a blood clot. Stay hydrated and walk or stretch every few hours. Just improving your daily movement by 5 to 10 minutes a day makes a world of difference for your body, especially your heart. It also lowers your blood pressure and reduces swelling. My high school friend Janet died from a blood clot in her lungs. She couldn't breathe, lost consciousness, and died. It's nightmare fuel. Rest in peace, Janet. Story 52. Toxic mushrooms. Many wild mushrooms look edible, but a single bite of the wrong species, such as the death cap or destroying angel, can shut down your liver and kidneys within days. By the time symptoms appear, the damage is often irreversible. Unless you are an expert mycologist, do not eat anything you forage. Cold river water inhalation and drowning. Even strong swimmers underestimate how quickly cold water can trigger an involuntary gasp reflex. One unexpected mouthful of water in a current or after a slip can send water into your lungs and cause immediate panic, leading to drowning within seconds. Always wear a life jacket and treat open water with respect, especially rivers with strong currents. Story 53. Splinters or scraping your knee on rocks can lead to tetanus. Tetanus is a silent killer and is not just found on rust. It is caused by the bacterium Clostridium tetani, which lives in dirt, dust, and animal feces. The bacteria thrive in low oxygen conditions, which is why infections often occur from rusted metal or dusty, enclosed spaces, but tetanus can also result from something as simple as a splinter from a log. Story 54. The most common first symptom of cardiovascular disease is sudden death. Story 55. Your chance of encountering this in your day-to-day life is essentially zero, but if you briefly touch dimethylmercury, it is a death sentence. There was a case in which a scientist was handling this substance and a few drops got on her gloved hand. 10 months later, she was dead. This case involved Karen Wetterhahn. Story 56. Being between a magnetic resonance imaging machine and something large and ferrous, or undergoing magnetic resonance imaging with a ferrous brain aneurysm clip, is extremely dangerous. I was a magnetic resonance imaging safety officer for decades, and I used to tell anyone who thought it was okay to bypass our safety guidelines that our scanners could kill people more quickly than anything else in the hospital. Story 57. An untreated spider or snake bite can cause a sudden drop in blood pressure, airway swelling, or cardiac arrest. Trying to wait it out can lead to collapse. Story 58. Stop ignoring that issue. You know exactly which one I mean, the one that's been bothering you for a while. Get it checked out. Story 59. An untreated infected tooth may not cause pain immediately, but it can become serious. Story 60. I'm surprised I haven't seen this in the thread, but slipping in the shower can be deadly. If you slip and hit the back of your head on the toilet, sink, or floor, you can be paralyzed or killed. Also, do not underestimate large, fast bodies of water such as rivers. One of my mother's friends went into a river despite warnings that the currents were dangerous. She was pulled by the current, became exhausted trying to fight it, and drowned. Story 61. A computed tomography scan with intravenous contrast, unless you are allergic to the contrast. Story 62. Laughing gas can cause suffocation and death by preventing breathing. Story 63. Here is a warning. Never destroy an old piano. Burning or breaking it can be extremely dangerous because the piano strings are under intense tension and can snap, causing severe injury. Story 64. One drop of gasoline in one of your lungs can be dangerous. Do not siphon gasoline with a tube. Story 65. Motor vehicle wrecks never cease to amaze me. People obsess over arcane things they are afraid will kill them, yet drive everywhere with hardly a thought. Story 66. Getting shot in the leg is not a harmless alternative. I always laugh when I hear people ask, why can't they just shoot them in the leg instead of killing them? There are large arteries in the legs, and being shot in one can cause death within minutes. Story 67. Low blood sugar can happen to people with type 1 diabetes and to those with type 2 diabetes after taking insulin. Many people do not realize that it is just as dangerous as high blood sugar. My grandfather was hospitalized because his blood sugar dropped to 16. Mixing cocaine with alcohol. A very common combination, but it increases the risk of a heart attack 40 times. Receiving electrolytes after prolonged deprivation. Rapid refeeding with electrolytes after prolonged deprivation can cause refeeding syndrome. Mixing rubbing alcohol with bleach. Mixing rubbing alcohol with bleach produces toxic compounds and is dangerous. Attacking a boar. A boar's blows can be lethal. Illegal U-turns. Illegal U-turns are a major cause of car accidents. Many fatal car accidents in Saudi Arabia have resulted from illegal U-turns. Story 68. I did not know that using a metal fork to remove bread from a toaster is dangerous until a friend, horrified to see me doing it, told me. Story 69. Rip currents at the beach cause people to panic and try to swim straight back to shore instead of swimming parallel to it. This is extremely dangerous. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.